All right, boys and girls, are you ready to tackle this lesson? 5-3. We're going to be using the distributive property to solve equations. So it's pretty cool because a distributive property is pretty powerful. It helps us solve equations in all kinds of different situations. So here's an example. It says -9 times the quantity of x plus 6 equals 18. So we're going to write that down over here, and you're going to write it in your notes. -9 times x plus 6 equals 18. So we distribute, that means -9 times x, that's when you multiply these two things together, and then when you multiply -9 times 6, you get minus 54 equals 18. Are you with me? Okay, so that's what you're going to put in this box right here. In this box right here, you're going to put -54, right? Because that's this part right here. But now to solve the equation, let's do that together. It says this, and we know from yesterday that we have to apply the addition property of equality, because right there is subtraction. We have to do the inverse. And we know that there are two sides of the equation, so like that. And so we're going to have to do the exact same thing on the other side. So bring down the -9x right there. And then we're going to write down equals right there. And 54 plus 18 is 72. Now we know that we have to change colors one more time. We have to use the division property of equality by -9, because we want these two things to cancel to 1. And if we do it on one side, we have to do it on the other. So we write down x, 1x equals 72 divided by 9 is 8, but of course the answer is going to be -8 because we're dividing by a negative. And that will be the next part of the problem, the solution. Good job. And by the way, remember that when you take notes on this, you can go back and study it, or you can come back and watch this video and watch me do the problem again until it makes sense to you. Alrighty, next problem, here we go. It says a retired math teacher takes her niece shopping. She tells her niece that they can spend X dollars and X plus 16 equals 51.2. What operation does the niece need to use to find how much money they can spend? Okay, well first, if we write this down, then we know that we have to do the inverse of what we see right here. And the inverse is subtraction of 16, and here's our fence, of both sides of the equation. So we're going to subtract, right? So we would choose subtraction. Alrighty, next problem. Here's the equation. It says no it doesn't, sorry. It says 2/3 equals, sorry, my bad. It says 2/3 equals quantity 9a plus 6 equals 23.8. There's the full equation. So I'm going to write it down over here. 2/3 times the quantity of 9a plus 6 equals 23.8. Now, when we're looking at the answers, what to put right there, and what to put right there, and what to put right there, and what to put right there, we just look at our distributive property, okay? So we're going to have 2/3 times 9a, that's going to be, if that's the, remember we do the arrows, that's 2/3 times 9a and 2/3 times 6. So 9a, I'm going to change my pen color here, and I'm going to change how thick it is and make it thinner so I can write in those little spaces. So this is going to be 9a, and then you notice in the next parentheses right here, it's going to be something times 6, and of course that's 2/3 times 6. So 2/3 goes right here, okay, and equals, and then 23.8 goes at the end. Now, if we solve that equation, that's different, okay? So what's 2/3 times 9? Well, that's 2 times 9 is 18 divided by 3. 2 times 9 is 18, divided by 3 is 6. So the first term is actually 6a, 2/3 times 9a. Plus, and then we do this part right here, 2/3 times 6. So 2 times 6 is 12, divided by 3 is 4. So that's the whole left side of the equation. Nice, right? And then it equals 23.8. And now we know here's our fence, and we know that here's addition, so we have to do the inverse of addition, which is what? You got it. Subtraction of that number from both sides, and remember that's going to be 4.0. So 4 minus 4 is nothing. Bring down your 6a equals 23.8 minus 4 is 19.8. And now we have to divide by 6. Right, the inverse of multiplication. And so that is going to yield a equals, and that's going to be 3 and 1.8 over 6. Oh, that's going to be a decimal. I'm going to have to do that on a calculator. Hang on. Okay, got it. That would be 3.3. Yes, it's totally possible that answers can be decimals or fractions. No problem. There we go. Easy, right? Okay, boys and girls, here we go. This problem says, think about the process. Apply the distributive property first to solve the equation. What operation will you need to use last? If instead you divide first to solve the equation, what operation would you need to use last? Okay, so it's asking us a couple different questions. So the first one is, if you apply the distributive property first, what operation will you need to use last? Okay, so let's go ahead and practice solving this equation. So I'll write it down first. It is 16 times the quantity of d over 2 minus 8 equals 192. So we're going to distribute first. 16 times d over 2 is 16 times d, just like we said it, over 2. And minus 8 equals 192. And now, what is 16 divided by 2? Right here. 16 over 2 is actually 8. D minus 8 equals 192. And now we know from yesterday and all the problems today already that we're going to add 8 to both sides. And so 8d we bring down, and that equals 200. And then finally we're going to divide. We're going to use the inverse of multiplication, and 8 over 8 is going to cancel to 1. Remember, this negative 8 and this negative 8 and this positive 8 made 0. And so 8 into 200 is, well, we don't even have to solve it yet. We will in the next part. But what property of equality did I just use right here? Right there. I divided, right? So we are going to put over here that remember the last thing we do is divide. And then the only thing we need to do to finally solve for the equation is say that d is going to equal 200 divided by 8. So d is going to equal, let's see, 225. 8 goes into 225 times. That would be for the next part of the problem, right? We have one part remaining, and so we would write that answer in the next part. All right, we're getting there. We're more than halfway done. This one is asking us to write the equation and solve it, so it's going to ask us first which of these equations actually represents all of these words. Okay, so we have to read through it and then try and write the equation. So it says, a family buys 6 airline tickets. The family buys travel insurance that costs $18 per ticket. The total cost is $1,110, and X is going to represent the price of one ticket. So right away I know that what I know is that X is the price of one ticket, but in addition to that, they're paying $18 per ticket for the insurance. So this right here is the total cost of one ticket. It's the ticket itself plus the insurance, okay? And how many of those tickets, this whole thing X plus 18 is one ticket, and how many did they buy? They bought 6. So we're going to multiply all of that ticket price times 6. We're going to use the distributive property. Now, once they pay for it all, once they add up the total and pay for it, what does it equal? 1,110. So let's look for a match over here. Do you see what it is? Of course, it is choice B. 1,110 equals 6 times the quantity of X plus 18. And then, of course, it wants to ask us that the price of one ticket is what? Which means that we need to solve this equation, right? So let's solve it. We know how to do it. Let me write it down again. It is 6 times the quantity of X plus 18 equals 1,110. So distribute first. 6 times X plus 6 times 18, 60 and 48 makes 108, equals 1,110. We should know what to do at this point. We are going to use the inverse of addition, which is subtraction, of 108. And then we're going to do it on both sides of the equal sign. Here's my fence. And let's see, 1,110 minus 108 is 1,002. And that equals 6x. So now I bet you know what to do next. That's right, boys and girls, because this added up to 0, so we wrote our 6x down. Now we have to use the inverse of that multiplication right there and divide by 6 on both sides. And so 1x, this is 1, 6 over 6, x equals, 6 goes into 10, 1, 6, 7, $167. That's the price of one ticket before insurance. Got it? Review. If that didn't make sense, review it. Watch it again. Okay, we're really getting there now. Number 6 says there's all these steps in solving this equation, but there was an error, and we have to analyze that. So it says the solution is incorrect. What is the correct solution? All right, so let's take the original equation, -5 times 4 minus r equals 25, and let's just solve it ourselves. So first, -5 times 4 is -20, and then -5 times -r is positive, right? Negative times negative is positive. 5r equals 25. Now don't get confused. We do not do the inverse of this addition right here. No. We do the inverse of this subtraction, right? Because here's our variable, and we have to isolate that variable. So we have to get rid of the 20 first and then divide by 5 in the last step. So we're going to add 20 to both sides of the equation. Here are my sides. Add 20. And that makes 0 right there, which is what we wanted. We bring down our 5r, right? 5r equals 25 plus 20 is 45. And now our last step, as you know, is we want to divide by the coefficient of the variable, which is 5, on both sides. 5 over 5 makes 1, which is 1r, equals 45 divided by 5 is 9. So you can see our answer, compared to the other answer, is that our answer is 9, not -9. And you can see that the problem that they had in this, the way they did it was when they multiplied -5 times -r, they got -5r, but we know it's positive. And so also when they tried to subtract here, they should have added, but they focused on the wrong term. Shouldn't have been on the 5r. It should have been trying to use the inverse of this -20 first. So let me go back over that. That got kind of sloppy. So remember what I said. This is not what you want to focus on, the inverse. This is what you want to focus on. And so when they did this step right here, they did the wrong step. And that gave them the wrong answer. And so we choose now from our possibilities what the error was. It says the left side of the equation should be -r after dividing each side by, no. The right side should be 9 after dividing each side by negative. No. Look at D. The left side of the equation should be negative 20 plus 5r after distributing. Yes. Should be. Remember I said negative 5 times negative r is positive 5r. So this right here should have been positive 5r. Excuse me. Okay, let's see if we can get through one more. A cell phone plan costs $28.80 per month for 500 minutes of talk time. It costs an additional 0.07 cents or 7 cents per minute for each minute over 500. You guys understand that, right? To get email, it costs 10% of the price for 500 minutes of talk time. And your bill, which does include email, is the same each month for 5 months. And the total cost for all 5 months is $185.35. Write and solve an equation. Okay, let M represent the number of minutes over 500 each month. Which equation represents the given situation? Okay, well, let's write it out and work it out. So it's not that hard. You just got to think about what it's saying, boys and girls. Don't get confused. These are not that hard. Don't get overwhelmed by all the words. Just take it apart one by one. Okay, it costs 7 cents a minute, right? So that's 0.07 times the number of minutes. So that's going to be part of our cost, right? It also just costs for a flat fee $28.80. So that's what it's costing us for 500 minutes plus every minute that we go over. But we also have email. So that costs 10% of the price for 500 minutes, which is $28.80. So we're going to have to add to this 10%, which is 0.10 times $28.80. So it's all that. Okay, let me go through that again so you understand. It's really not that hard. The total cost of what we're paying is 10% of, which means multiply, the price for a month. So it's 0.10 times 28.80. That's one part. That's for email. This is the email. This is when we go over our minutes. When we go over 500 minutes, we pay 7 cents per minute over that. And this is our flat fee, right? This is for our first 500 minutes. Does that make sense? So you got email access, overage charges, and our basic price of $28.80. All that together is going to equal the total cost, which was $185.35. So if I write that down over here, if I have room, $185.35. Barely squeezed it in there. Now just find the match. Which one is it? You got it right there. Good.